We've all been there. Meeting your partner's parents for the first time, trying to break the ice with a new colleague, or stuck on a trip surrounded by strangers. What fills the silence? Awkwardness, that's what. But fear not, I'm Mike with List25, and here are 25 interesting facts to fuel your next conversation. 25. The guy who skateboarded across the US. In 2013, Dave Cornthwaite decided walking or driving wasn't dramatic enough and skateboarded 3,618 miles across the US. Starting in Miami and ending in Portland, Oregon, it took him 90 days of skating, about 40 miles a day, through blistering heat, cracked roads, and dodging traffic. It was all part of his Expedition 1000 project, where he's taking on 25 non-motorized journeys of 1,000 miles or more. As of 2019, he's completed 15 so far, and has 10 more to go. 24. The first artificial kidney was made with wooden drums. During World War II, Dutch doctor Wilhelm Kolff refused to accept that kidney failure had to mean a death sentence. So, armed with nothing but wooden drums, cellophane tubing, and a whole lot of determination, he built the world's first artificial kidney in 1943. It wasn't easy. Kolff's first attempts failed again and again, but he didn't give up. And eventually his invention saved a dying patient's life, laying the groundwork for modern dialysis. After the war, Kolff shared his design with researchers around the world, and by 1950, he was in the US, perfecting his invention and turning what was once considered to be a hopeless diagnosis into a treatable condition. 23. The Ghost Army that fooled the Nazis. Have you ever heard of the Ghost Army? These guys, or actually the troops of the 23rd Headquarters Special, were activated in 1944 and became the ultimate masters of military deception. With just over 1,000 men, they managed to fake the presence of 30,000 troops using inflatable tanks, fake radio chatter, and even sound effects. Their crowning achievement? During the Battle of the Bulge, their clever tactics convinced the Germans they were up against a much larger Allied force. Their creative tactics, from fake commanders to intricate visual setups, played a vital role in shielding Allied soldiers and advancing the war effort. 22. An Australian town was overrun by bats. Bats are fascinating creatures. I mean, they're the only mammals that can fly. But try telling that to the residents of Ingham, Australia, who faced a real-life bat tornado in January 2020. About 300,000 bats swarmed the town, disrupting daily life and sending everyone into a panic. Kids were kept home, schools went empty, and locals could only watch on in horror as bats dived bomb anyone they found in the streets. Bats rarely harm humans, but swarms can cause scratches and spread diseases. Thankfully, by September 2020, everything was bat to normal. 21. Nova Scotia accidentally banned bees. In 2016, Halifax, Nova Scotia passed Bylaw A700, and while it wasn't about bees specifically, it ended up creating a bizarre problem for beekeepers. The bylaw stated that any animal with an owner couldn't leave the property unless it was on a leash or in a cage. This meant managed bees were technically banned from pollinating plants outside their owner's property, unless of course their keeper somehow managed to put them on a leash and harness. The absurdity of this oversight escaped the regional council for a while, but it didn't take long for an amendment to come and fix it. Not the bees! 20. The schoolboy term that stuck. The word soccer, often dismissed as an American term, actually started in England. Back in the late 1800s, association football was coined to set it apart from rugby football. British schoolboys, being playful as ever, shortened association to a sock and tacked on ER, turning it into soccer. For decades, both soccer and football were used in England, but by the mid-20th century, soccer fell out of favor. Ironically, the term stuck in countries like the US, Canada, and Australia, thanks to British influence. So, not our word. Y'all made soccer. 19. A fart joke got someone arrested. In 2020, Harold Wayne Hadley, a student at Jones County Junior College in Mississippi, found himself in hot water after a joke went terribly wrong. While studying in the Trail Tisdale Library, he decided to take a bathroom break, and for reasons only he could understand, scribbled a fart joke on a piece of toilet paper. Coming from a rural area, Harold referred to his fart as a bomb. And, as you might guess, things escalated quickly. A teacher recognized his handwriting, and soon enough, 11 emergency agencies swarmed the scene. Despite the absence of any actual bomb, and the fact that Harold was a straight-A student just months from graduating, he was arrested and held on a $20,000 bond. 18. Cuba's Castros helped to get Hemingway's stolen Nobel back. When Ernest Hemingway won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954, he skipped the ceremony for a solid reason. He just survived 2 plane crashes in Africa. Newspapers even published his obituary. Too injured to travel, he sent the US ambassador to Sweden to accept the prize on his behalf and gifted the 23-karat gold medal to the people of Cuba. But since he didn't trust the Batista dictatorship, he gave it to Cuba's Catholic Church, where it stayed in a sanctuary in El Cobre, until it was stolen in 1986. By then, the Castros were in power and were fans of Hemingway. They warned the thieves to return the medal within 72 hours or face the consequences. The medal reappeared almost immediately. 17. An 81-year-old man was jailed for creating a hybrid sheep. Arthur Jack Schubarth from Vaughan, Montana had lived a quiet, uneventful life, until he hit 81 and got creative in the weirdest way. In 2024, he landed a 6-month federal prison sentence for smuggling a Marco Polo sheep, the world's largest breed, into the US. Why? Well, he wanted to clone it and create an even bigger hybrid. Schubarth ran an alternative livestock business and used the tissue and testicles from the sheep to develop what he called the Montana Mountain King. US authorities weren't impressed. They accused him of tampering with genetics, and despite his lawyer arguing that no one else could have pulled it off, the judge still found him guilty. 16. Archeologists found a knight's tomb at Jamestown. Of all the graves excavated at Jamestown, one takes the prize for being the strangest: a tomb belonging to a knight. Yeah, a knight. I know, Jamestown wasn't that far removed from the Middle Ages, but a knight's tomb still feels a little out of place, doesn't it? The best part, or should I say the most intriguing part, about the discovery is that no one knows who the knight actually was. Lord Delaware, the guy Delaware's named after, had the title, but he's not buried there. Then there's Sir George Yeardley, Jamestown's governor. His family wanted him buried in a black marble tomb with his crest. The tomb fits, but there's no crest, so we may never know. Maybe it's Yeardley, or maybe there was a mystery knight roaming around Jamestown that we know nothing about. 15. There's a secret warehouse full of Titanic artifacts. They include an alligator skin purse, perfume bottles that still smell of perfume, a dented porthole, etched glassware, and even a bathtub. It's all owned by the company with the salvage rights to the Titanic. In 2024, the BBC got a rare peek inside and brought the world the stories behind them, like that of Marion Meanwell, a third-class passenger. Her purse held a photo of her mother, a landlord's reference, and a medical card proving she was in good health, all reminders of the very real people behind the tragedy. Other artifacts hint at Titanic's luxury and class divide. Third-class mugs were plain and sturdy, second-class plates had delicate floral designs, and first-class dishes? Gold-trimmed fine china. 14. Pigeons are quite artsy. In 1995, researchers uncovered something unexpected. Pigeons can tell Monet from Picasso. The birds were trained using food rewards, and they correctly identified paintings by each artist. Even when shown new paintings they had never seen before, they still got it right. Researchers also tested if pigeons could distinguish abstract art from realistic styles, and they nailed that test too. What seemed like an oddball experiment actually revealed something groundbreaking. Pigeons have surprisingly advanced pattern recognition skills, even with their tiny brains. The discovery has even inspired artificial intelligence research, influencing how computers learn to recognize patterns. 13. The dirtiest place on an airplane isn't the toilet. Can you guess where it is? According to a 2015 study by Travel Math, the flush handles, which many expect to be the germiest, have a 265 bacteria colony forming units, or CFU, per square inch. The bad news is, that places it third. The seatback tray tops the list with a disgusting 2,155 CFU per square inch, 8 times dirtier than the flush handle. You see, between flights, staff can remove trash but don't have time for a thorough cleaning. Other particularly dirty spots include overhead vents at 285 CFU and seatbelt buckles and headrests, both of which have been found with E. coli. 12. Gravity is a theory, not a law. In science, laws describe what happens based on data, while theories explain why things happen. Isaac Newton's 1687 description of gravity, where it was seen as a force acting instantly over any distance, was considered a law. But Einstein's general theory of relativity introduced a new way of thinking. Einstein realized that nothing can travel faster than light, so Newton's idea couldn't be correct. Instead, he proposed that massive objects like the sun and Earth bend space-time, similar to how a ball dips a trampoline's surface. This bending is what causes gravity, altering the paths of objects like satellites or the moon. 11. There's a worm in Bermuda that glows when things get steamy. The Bermuda fireworm doesn't look like much during the day. Tiny, ruddy, covered in hairs that sting if you touch them. But come summer, something incredible happens. On the third night after the full moon, exactly 56 minutes after the sun goes down, the worms come to life. And no, I am not kidding. The timing is as exact as that. The females swim up from the ocean floor, glowing brightly, and the males quickly join in, lighting up the ocean like you've never seen. 10. Someone actually tried to build a death ray. It might seem like a plot from a science fiction story, but a man named Glendon Scott Crawford was convicted for attempting to build a death ray. Crawford, a former General Electric mechanic and self-described mix between Forrest Gump and Darth Vader, became the first person convicted under a law enacted in 2004 aimed at preventing the creation of radiological dispersal devices. Crawford had planned to deploy his device by hiding it in a truck near targets like mosques and even the White House. If triggered, the device would have unleashed deadly radiation. Luckily for us, the people he thought were his co-conspirators were actually undercover agents, and his plans never went further than building the remote control for the device. 9. Rivian EVs get a sci-fi makeover. If you were a fan of Knight Rider in the 80s, you definitely remember Michael Knight and his high-tech supercar KITT. Okay, show of hands. Who wanted their very own KITT back then? Well, Rivian, the American electric vehicle maker, is finally turning those childhood dreams into reality with a special Knight Rider makeover for their vehicles. If you've got the money and are so inclined, you can now transform the display of your R1T or R1S into a modern-day version of KITT. It comes with the iconic glowing red scanner on the front and KITT-style diagnostics inside. And if you need more convincing, you'll be happy to know that you can even play the original theme song, just like having your very own real-life KITT. 8. Why we cringe when we hear our own recorded voice. Hearing your recorded voice for the first time is almost a universal cringe moment. You sit there wondering, oh God, do I actually sound like that? And if others are around, it's even worse. Suddenly you're questioning everything. Oh, do I sound annoying to them too? Here's the thing. The voice you hear in your head isn't what others hear. When you speak, the sound doesn't just come through your ears, it also travels through the bones in your skull, making it sound different to you. If you want to know how you really sound, try talking while covering your ears. It's a bit weird, but it'll cut out the vibrations and give you a better idea of what you sound like. 7. The Swiss cheese fiend of Philadelphia. When you think of cheese, it's usually related to food, on a pizza, paired with wine, or in a grilled cheese sandwich. But for today's purposes, I'm focusing on something a bit weirder. In January 2014, a Facebook post from the Mayfair Town Watch group warned the town locals about someone they called the Swiss cheese pervert. Apparently, this guy was driving around northeast Philadelphia, exposing himself to women and offering them money for, let's just say, some bizarre acts involving Swiss cheese. All the witnesses described being accosted by a heavy-set man, and by January 16th, the police had arrested 41-year-old Christopher Pagano. He ended up with 8 years of probation, mandatory treatment, and strict limits on using his car. 6. The Sixth Sense. We all know the basics: smell, sight, taste, feel, and hearing. But how many of you have ever heard of interoception? It's the one nobody talks about, and basically just describes how your body picks up internal cues and responds. For example, when you're thirsty, you grab a glass of water. When you're cold, you put on a jacket. That's interoception doing its thing. But it's not just about your body's needs. This sense also plays a big part when it comes to our emotions. It helps us understand what we're feeling, make decisions, and connect with other people. Scientists are still figuring out exactly how it works, but research shows that when our interoception goes out of whack, anxiety, eating disorders, and depression soon follow. 5. Sergio's underwater greenhouses. A few years ago, a scuba enthusiast by the name of Sergio Gambarini came up with a crazy idea while on vacation. He decided he was going to grow food under the ocean. I mean, why not? When he got back to Italy, he started setting up his underwater greenhouses off the coast of Noli, and they are a sight to behold. Each comes in the form of a giant air-filled balloon anchored about 20 feet underwater. Inside, Gamberini grew strawberries, beans, lettuce, and basil. The conditions were ideal: stable temperatures, constant humidity, and plenty of oxygen. The plants thrived. Of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Rough seas had the habit of destroying entire crops. Even so, a lot of people believe that these underwater biospheres could one day help countries with limited farmland grow their own food. Or would you kindly just create rapture? 4. We discovered a new ant species inside a frog. In 2016, researchers in Ecuador made a surprising discovery. They found a new species of ant inside the stomach of a fire-colored devil frog, or diablito. Sadly, only one specimen was recovered, and it was dead, so scientists are still uncertain about much of the species' behavior. However, they do believe the ants use their long mouths to capture food. Frogs, especially those in the wild, often find insects in places humans can't reach. Researchers have figured out that studying the contents of a frog's vomit can reveal previously unexplored ecosystems. As lead researcher Christian Rabling shared with National Geographic, people often think our world is well explored, but that's far from the truth. 3. A love for trees. People are weird. But I've said it before, here at List25, we do not judge. Even if it feels like we should. A paraphilia is a sexual interest in something unconventional, whether it's an object, situation, or type of person. Swiss cheese, anyone? Which brings me to dendrophilia, or the love of trees. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. For many dendrophiliacs, simply spending time in nature, like in a forest or garden, is enough to spark excitement. Others may get aroused by hugging, talking to, or even worshiping trees. And for a few, the desire goes further, involving actual physical interactions with the trees themselves. 2. There's a bizarre phobia unique to Japan. The Japanese are known for their impeccable manners and the values they instill in their children, one of the biggest being the concept of face. Basically, it's all about how others see you and how your actions reflect on your family and friends. But here's the thing. It's also led to a pretty bizarre phobia that's unique to Japanese culture. It's known as Taijin Kyofusho, and along with social anxiety, it brings a fear of shaming those close to you. In the most extreme cases, it can make someone so scared of embarrassing themselves that they avoid social situations entirely, fearing they'll ruin not just their own reputation, but their loved ones too. 1. The luckiest man in the world. It's me, because of my girlfriend. Oh, that's a wrap for today. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and if you want to... Alright. The odds of being struck by lightning are 1 in 12,000, but for Edwin E. Robinson, those odds were 100%. On June 9, 1980, Robinson, who was both blind and partially deaf after an accident, was outside swinging his aluminum cane, looking for his chicken, yeah, you heard me right, when a storm rolled in. He decided to take shelter under the only tree nearby. And, well, lightning found him. The next thing he knew, he was lying unconscious for 20 minutes, but when he woke up, he stumbled home, took a nap, because I guess getting struck by lightning is exhausting, and then discovered something incredible. He could see and hear again. After seeing his doctor, it was confirmed that he had regained both senses, likely due to the rubber-soled shoes he was wearing at the time. Alright, now that's a wrap. But before you go, how about a quick trivia question? What was the name of the sheep that Arthur Jack Schubarth illegally imported with plans to create a hybrid? Was it A, Himalayan giant, B, Marco Polo sheep, C, Wyoming Whopper, or D, Montana Mountain King? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's list and feel the urge to watch more fascinating content like this, check out our related video, 250 amazing facts that'll blow your mind. That is 10 times your usual amount of fun, facts on movies, science, outer space, inner space, life hacks, food, world records, and everything in between. It took me like an hour to record the entire thing. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content, and I'll catch you guys next time.